Hey everyone, and welcome back to the United Star. I'm Atanu and I am joined by a very special friend. He's a very good friend of mine. It's Connor from All For United Men and All For United WFC as well. He's seen on both the channels. Over the past few months, I've got to know Connor through the All For United WFC channel. We've met on the Friday Nights Fans Forum a lot, and he does have a lot of good opinions. And I think my most memorable experience with Connor was when Atanu scored her first goal, and he was the first one to tell us that Tooney has scored, and the reaction of all the panelists was amazing. So welcome to the channel, Connor. It's a pleasure to have you here, mate.
Yeah, no, delighted to be on here. Obviously, yeah, I remember that it was a Friday Night Fan forum, which turned into an Ella2 in England kind of watch
It-
along
yeah.
for myself. But yeah, no, yeah, glad to be on this channel. Obviously, you've been on All For United, and your views are definitely well respected over there. So yeah, I'm excited for this one.
Thank you so much, Connor. All for United WFC have created a big community. In our last women's video with Natalie, we discussed that it's like a big family. We might have different opinions, but at the end of the day, we respect each other's opinions, and as a fan base, we are united. So that's really important in today's world. So, Connor, how were you introduced to the Manchester United women's team, and when did you actually said, okay, fine, I'll start going to watch some more games of United Women?
So in terms of, I mean, like most people, have supported United since all my life, kind of thing. Obviously, the women's team is new to me, as it is to a lot of people. Really, I mean, it's only 3-4 years old in its entirety. Um, so I'm a United fan first, not so much like a women's football fan who's then supported United Women. I'm a United fan overall. Um, and I've always kind of followed the women's side ever since its creation. I've just kind of kept an eye on results and those kinds of things, and kept an eye on Twitter for big events and these kinds of things. The one that the one that stands out actually is when I can't remember what season it was. It might have been last year's. It might actually been last season, the COVID season, when you could hear Casey on the sideline saying, "Give it to LJ" against Chelsea, I think it was, and then she goes and scores. I remember seeing, and that was kind of my first real, like, right, okay, let's really take an interest in this. And then yeah, just started going this season. Spoke literally through All For United. All For United men's. I met John and Natalie, and spoke to them. How can I get to games? And just started going from there really. And yeah, I'm gutted. I'm going to miss a few up and coming games, but yeah, no, I've loved every minute of it so far.
So who's your favorite player till now?
Who's my favorite? So player.
Yeah, favorite player.
Oh God. um, Crikey. I think from what I've seen, obviously the obvious one would be Ella because of how well she's played. But I think for me, I'm actually going to say Russo because she's something different to what other teams have. Obviously, there's always that comparison between Toon and Kirby and so on. There's a lot of comparison, but Russo's just different to me. She just seems to have a different quality to that no one else in our squad, I don't think, has. And that goal against Spurs that she scored a couple of weeks ago, that just sums up her for me. I mean, it's a goal out of nothing, really, when you think about it. So, yeah, I'd have to say Russo or Earps, actually. I think Mary's been very good in goal.
Yeah, I think for me as well, it's Ella Toon, Mary Earps, Aoife Mannion, Kirsty Hansen. So as a whole, we support the whole team. But yeah, I think there are some really good players in the squad. But last game, Connor, Arsenal 2-0 loss. It was a difficult one because I think Arsenal are a good side. There's no denying that they are at the top of the table. So it was always going to be tough. But we are United fans and we want our team to win. But somewhere I felt that the only silver lining from the game was that we didn't lose 6-1 like we did against Chelsea.
Yeah, I don't think it was that bad, to be honest. When you watch the game back, I think it was actually all right. I think in the first half, we didn't control the game as such, but we were in the game. I think, I don't remember Arsenal actually having any chances, to be honest. I think they hit the bar in the first half, which was just one mistake. But again, it was kind of our own errors again, and that's a promising sign in some sense. The fact that it's not like they outplayed us. I don't think they did.
No,
I just think,
I'm not saying that I'm hugely disappointed, but coming after that Manchester derby win, my expectations were quite high because we were coming after a good win. So with that respect, I was saying that it was a disappointing.
yeah, I think on the back. I mean, I was there obviously at the derby, and it was that atmosphere was brilliant. I think as well, I think as we've discussed in the past, I think that Arsenal game probably had a bit more deflation around it because of what happened on the men's side. Obviously, with Ollie going, it was awful timing. It was right before kickoff. So it did kind of take a wrongly, actually, it took a lot of attention away from the women's team because most people, a lot of people, including myself, actually, that were talking around the ground, just had that in the back of my mind. And it's wrong, really, because you should be there. We all were, supporting the team, but I think it did take a little bit out of it. So I think the disappointment probably was added. We had that big win against City. Obviously, what happened in the men's side, Ollie going, big fans' favourite men's and women's side. He was involved heavily in the women's, and obviously 2-0 loss. It probably, I think it feels worse as well, doesn't it? The fact that there was an international break straight after it because we couldn't bounce back straight away. There was a big break.
And that's
Yeah,
something that I really hate because international break keeps on interrupting the form and the momentum of the team. Even if the team is like, okay, we'll bounce back in the next game, the international break starts, and it's like we are starting from the ground up again. It's like we are beginning the season again because it's such a huge gap between in the international break that I don't think it's fair on the people who stay back and train. That's what I
yeah,
feel.
it's a big problem. I mean, even now we come back obviously at the weekend, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, in a moment. But we play Leicester, Brighton, Everton, Villa, and then there's another break for 4 weeks or so. And it's like you can't build up form really because I mean we could have a whole show on this itself, but I get your point. It's like there's 3 or 4 games and there's a break, and another 3 games and a break, and it's a bit you can't really get that momentum going. Or on the flip side, if you lose, you just want to play again. You want to get back out there and rectify it. And having these breaks, it's good for some players because it means they get some minutes. Like the Bo Reeses and Haley Ladd, Carrie Jones gets minutes for Wales. So it's good for those types of players, but it's just not good for building momentum.
Yeah, I think as a whole, you know, yeah, I said that the momentum is disrupted and the form is disrupted. So, sorry, coming to Mark Skinner, Connor, what do you make of him till now? Like, yes, we did have some expectations because Casey Stoney did so good with in the first 2 seasons of the WSL. We came fourth twice in the WSL under Casey Stoney, and she felt that it was a personal loss or disappointment that they weren't able to get into the top three last season. But right now, of course, a lot of players left, so it and Skinner was appointed a bit late into the transfer window, so I'll be honest, I don't think he got what he wanted in the transfer window. But January and the summer, hopefully get something. But what do you make of his season till now?
Yeah, I mean, I actually like him. I think as a person, we can all agree he's one of he is a likable man. In kind of some of the things he says, I think some people disagree. Maybe latter interviews, but certainly in the early days, he was some of it, and things like that, and the way he speaks with the crowd and the fans and these kinds of things. His style was a little bit confusing to start with. I understand it. I know some people don't. It is very kind of possession based and keeping it safe, which is not too much of an issue. I think that it's just a difference, and I think like I said before, I wasn't particularly around last season, but it is a change. They're two completely different managers in personality and in tactical style. They're completely different, so it is going to be a change. I agree with what you're saying. I think because he came in a little bit late, that time on the training field, people compare him to Arsenal, but I mean, Arsenal's squad is ridiculous in comparison. We've got a good squad, but in comparison to Arsenal, I mean, theirs
Hmm.
is completely top draw. So, yes, he came in a similar time to the Arsenal manager, but like I said, it's different squads and it's also different styles as well. That's what I'm trying to get at here. So I think he's done well. I think he's made mistakes, but I don't think there's a single player out there, maybe bar, Ella Russo and maybe Mary. I don't think any of the players can say that they haven't made mistakes as well. So I think it's been a collective. I think he's made mistakes, but it seems to be rectifying it. I think he's had some issues at the start. I don't think he understood, the size of the thing. And I think that's, we all say, don't we, that 6-1 loss to Chelsea definitely brought him back down to earth a little bit and was a bit like, right, okay, this is the expectation now. And, we didn't get beat by City and we only just narrowly lost to Arsenal. So I think he has learned. So maybe he is learning on the job, but you've got to give him at least a year. Give him 2 transfer windows, January and the summer, and let's see where we are next season. I think I said it to you on the fans forum tonight that I think the demise of City has put a bit more pressure on him. I think this year he probably had a conversation with the board and just top 5 was maybe the aim. And I think now with the demise of City, that 3rd place has opened up, and maybe there's now more pressure than there probably wouldn't have been had they not dropped so low.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right that the form that City has been in, it's added an extra pressure to Marc Skinner from the fan side. The big 3 of the FAWSL aren't the big 3 right now. There's only big 2, so you can be the third team in the top 3. But I think yes, it's a bit overwhelming for him because he's just come in. He didn't get the players that he wanted. He inherited a squad that I don't know. Maybe some players will stay, maybe some players won't stay. Maybe all of them will stay, and he'll add some more players. We actually don't know what he'll do. But come January, I want the board to back him. If he wants to get some signings, make that happen. The only thing that I want from him is that he should utilize that midfield a bit more elegantly. Uh, you know, in-game management basically. Uh, Play Fuso more often, because we saw in the international break as well that with Brazil, she's been on fire. Fuso is firing all is is at her A game right now. So I'd like to see Fuso play more often. He should utilize his midfield a bit more in a better way, I think.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think that there's a couple of areas, and I said this the other week, that no player is a void of criticism. There's, you could be the best player in the team. If you're having a poor game, you're having a poor game. It's just one of those. It happens, and that's where Skinner, especially in midfield, that the options are there. It's not like we're short of options in midfield. I understand Jackie's been out injured since kind of the 3rd or 4th week. Hayley Ladd's been kind of in and out of the team, with injury as well. So he's probably had to stick with a similar team. But when these players come back, I've got no issue with him going, let's say, Jackie Ladd and Toon 1 week, Bo Risa Ladd and Toon the next week. Maybe Toon comes out and Staniforth goes in and Zellum comes back in. I don't mind that, as long as it's based on, based on merit in the games. And same with the wingers. Everyone says about the wingers, if they're not performing, you've got Carriage. I understand what he's doing with Carriage, trying to protect her a little bit. Maybe with Ivana as well, actually. But we've, like you just said there, we've seen what she can do with Brazil. We saw what she can do against City. I saw it at Durham as well. She's a very good player. So if Leah or Kirsty are not on form, just pull them out for a game and give Ivana a game, and then let them come off.
It's not in a negative way that he's taking them out. It's just that they can figure what's wrong. They can clear their heads out if something's bothering them. So I think with that respect, I think yes, I do agree that maybe he needs to tweak some minor changes. I think that's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's not a reflection on the player. Just because you're dropping a player doesn't mean they're a bad player. It just means at the moment, on current form, they're not performing to the levels maybe that we want them to do. And the best way to do that, for me personally, is to take them out of the limelight, so to speak, give them a break, and then get them. Leah Golden's best 30 minutes came against City when she came on late on, because it was almost like a new Leah, like she came on energized. And maybe that's what we need to see from some of the midfielders, maybe like I said, the wingers. Dropping them to halfway, just put them on the bench for a game and let them come off the bench and make an impact, because you might see a difference. And then you start fighting for the positions. Then you start going, hang on a minute, I'm not getting dropped again. I want that spot back. So, it just increases performances. That's why we always stress, don't we, about transfer windows and having 2 players for every position, because it's healthy competition.
Yeah, and just last point that I would want to add to this is that in the summer as well, after the season ended, we saw Lauren James, Kristen Press, Tobin Heath, Jess Sixworth, and Jane Ross leave. So the five strikers, five forwards left, and we only got in Martha Thomason. So, five left, one in. So it creates bit of an imbalance in the squad in terms of squad depth and the players that are available to him. And with respect to the forward line, I think Martha Thomas was injured. There were times when Leah Galton wasn't in the squad or she wasn't feeling her best self. So he had very limited choices, and that's why he had to go with Ella Toon as the right winger or Ella Toon as the false nine. So I think he's still learning on how to utilize his players in a better way. And it's my criticism is not reflecting on how or it is not a is not defining how he is as a manager. I do back him. I'll back him until the end, but I do feel some of his in-game management styles might need to improve if we need to get into the top three.
Yeah, no, I've got nothing else to add on that. I do agree. It is all about management. It's a very thin squad. Don't get me wrong. Certainly in attack, but he has got options there. So just needs to use them. And the Conti games, which we're going to talk about, is the best place to use them.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the Conti Cup game now, which is against Leicester City. So Connor, first of all, what do you if you are Mark Skinner, how would you select your starting 11 in this game? Who would you select in the starting 11?
Um, it doesn't need to be full strength because Leicester aren't a great side, and Leicester really. I mean, I know it's the first game in charge for their new manager, so they're going to want to make an impression. But at the same time, they've got bigger problems than the Conti Cup. I don't actually think can they qualify. Still, I don't think they can they?
I haven't seen the scenarios yet, but I think it's difficult for them because I think City and United will be the one who qualify according to the current table. But yeah, I think you're right that they do have a new manager coming in and they've got some separate issues as well. But if I'm being honest, I think we can't take them lightly because last season in the FA Cup we were defeated by them in KC's last game. So yeah, the squad's changed a bit, but I do think uh, obviously we won't go with full strength, but I'd like to see some key players in this game. So how about you?
Yeah, so I think it will be the same back four. I think swap the keepers out. It'll probably be the same back four of Jonna and Hannah, and maybe Millie comes back potentially. Whether it's too soon for her, I'm not too sure. But if you're going to bring her, if she is ready, then I expect her to come back in, get some match fitness. Um, Probably alongside Mannion because Mannion will be the captain. It will probably be a midfield. I don't think he's given his injury update yet. If Lad play for Wales, so I'd expect to see her come in as well. I actually want to see Katie start because I don't want to see her start against Brighton. So I want her to get her game time in the Conti now. I think my mindset switched slightly. Zelen plays the Conti, Bo Risa plays the league. I don't think people would disagree with that. And then, yeah, I think you give Toon a night off. She's played 2 games for England. Give her a rest. Stanford's more than capable of playing 10. Same with Russo. I'd give her kind of the night off as well. If Thomas is fit, you go Thomas as well. And then, yeah, you're looking at the 2 wingers. I'd go Jones and Nirvana again. Carrie Jones and Nirvana Fuso because I don't see why you wouldn't play them unless they're injured. I said they more than held their own against Man City, so they can easily, hold their own against Leicester. So, and then it just, it leaves a good bench then because, like you just said there, we can't take them lightly. That team should be good enough to beat them anyway. But if we're in trouble, you've got Russo and Toon and Galton and Hansen to bring off the bench then, and there's plenty of players you can throw into the mix.
Yeah, I think I do agree with your starting 11. Just to, I'll say it again. Bagley, Ona, Hannah Blundell, Mannion, Millie Turner if she's available, but we'll add her. In the midfield, we'll have Katie Zellum and Haley Ladd. Lucy Stanford as the attacking midfielder. Left wing, Carrie Jones. Right wing, Ivana Fuso. And striker, Martha Thomas.
Yeah, that's how I do it. Because it's
That
like I said, then you've got
that that's
strong
a
options.
that's a good looking squad, and I think you're right that the wingers were able to do well against City, so they'll be able to do well against this City, which is the Leicester City.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's like I said, it's good for some of these players to get some minutes. I don't think Hansen or Thomas went away with internationals, did they? Um, So, there's opportunities there to get some minutes. It's like I said, I think the main key players that went away with internationals, I'd probably give the night off. Actually, thinking about it, maybe you drop one of the fullbacks and Kirsty Smith comes in. Just thinking about that, because again, she was actually my player of the match against City. I thought she was so solid on that side, dealt with City's attacking threat very well. So maybe she comes in at fullback instead of Honor, or I'd actually take Honor out thinking about it because I think she played 2 lots of 90 minutes for Spain. So maybe she comes out and it's her and Hannah. That wouldn't be too bad. There's plenty of options. I'd like to see. I think we're both going to agree. I think rotation is going to be on the cards. I hope he does anyway, because as we all know, we've got a tougher test the week after, and we can't afford to go into Brighton with added injuries onto what we've already got.
And I think we need to win that Brighton game if we want to get into the anywhere near top three before the end of the season, end of the year. Sorry, not the season, end of the year. So I think beating this Brighton side, who are considered the dark horses of the WSL this season, it's going to be key if we have our key players fit. And as it is, we do have a depleted squad. Like we don't have a big squad, so we don't want any injuries piling up. So Connor, who do you think will play a key role in this game?
Oh, good question. Based on my team that I've just picked there, um, it's very cliche to say the midfield wins your game. So I'm not gonna say the midfield actually. I'm gonna say the two wingers, Ivana and Carrie. In my case, so that this is just me hoping that those two start. It might not be. I'm gonna say those two just because Leicester will likely line up. I mean, they were experimenting with a back five, weren't they, in the league the last kind of few games? So whether they'd stick with that, I don't know. Again, it's new manager, so I'd expect Leicester to come out of the blocks flying. They're going to want to impress. So, I think the two wingers, especially Ivana. Now, it goes against what I was just saying in terms of, you know, going away with internationals. Maybe I'm kind of contradicting myself here because the more I think about it, the more I don't think Ivana will play because she played 2 lots of internationals. She went down twice in the second game for Brazil. With that she had a bandage on her knee and these kind of things all strapped up. So maybe it will be Leah, but regardless of who it is, the wingers will be the important ones because we know we've all spoken about it on multiple different shows. We don't play with wingers anymore. They're inside forwards. Now, the quicker these players can adapt to Skinner's way of playing in terms of making these wingers inside forwards, the better. And I think Carrie Jones is probably the closest to understanding it. But I think younger players are easily adaptable because they're like sponges. They just absorb everything that's being thrown at them. So, yeah, I think we may see a Carrie Jones masterclass potentially. There's your title. But yeah, maybe we'll see Carrie Jones get a goal or two because I can't see where else. The fullbacks are always involved in the game. But yeah, maybe we'll see Carrie Jones. Like I said, she held her own against City. She did actually quite well against Arsenal, which came on as well. So yeah, it's time for those to bag some goals. I think that's the key thing. I want us to see us put some past Leicester because get the confidence up and then go into Brighton with a bit more confidence with these players.
Yeah, definitely, and win all the games that we have remaining. Not, I mean, win all the games that we play until the end of the season. But of course, this Leicester game, win this, and increase the chances of qualifying for the later stages of the Conti Cup because I think this team deserves a silverware this season. Of course, it all depends on how our draw works in the later stages of the cup competitions, but I do think this team can win something. Hopefully no injuries and we get a good amount of players in the January window. But yeah, and like Connor said, the news hasn't come out at the time that we are shooting this preview. The news hasn't come out regarding the injury updates. So maybe Jackie Cronin might be back, maybe she won't be back. Maybe Millie Turner might play, maybe she doesn't play, but we actually don't know anything right now. But with the information that we have right now, this is what Connor's starting 11 would look like
Yeah,
if he's the one in the dugout instead of Marc Skinner on Sunday.
I think I'm going to make one change just because obviously we're filming this on Wednesday afternoon UK time. She's just put a tweet out saying obviously she looks like she's starting tonight against Chile, which is Thursday midnight UK time. So she's probably not going to be available on Sunday because of I don't know what the quarantine rules are for these players. I don't think it affects that. But even still, if she's playing on a Thursday, it'll be Thursday after. Well, what are they? They're behind. So Wednesday afternoon for her, providing she flies back straight away, you're looking at rest and recovery time. She's not going to be available until 2 days before the game. So I think if I made one change by starting 11, it will be Leah because she hasn't been away with internationals. Galton probably coming on the left instead of Ivana and Carrie on the right, which is a shame actually because I was looking forward to seeing Ivana. But just judging off that, the fact that it looks like she's playing tonight for Brazil, I can't see her making the flight back and only 48 hours later starting against Leicester. She might do, but I doubt it.
I think, yeah, I do agree. I think it will be a bit dicey because she won't have a proper training session with the team as well. So yeah, I think Connor has summed it up pretty well with the preview. But I want to talk about the international break that we've had now. Ona Bhatia got 2 assists in the game against Faroe Islands, and we saw England defeat Latvia 20-0, which is like the biggest scoreline if I'm not wrong. But enough of that. I want to talk about Alessia Russo, who came on as a second half substitute, and she scored an 11-minute hat trick, which is the fastest one in the history of England women's football team, senior team. Ella Toone scored a goal. Katie Zellem made her debut. Mary Earps, another clean sheet, 6 in a row, I think. 6 in a row clean sheets. And I mean, if that's not a record, I don't know what the record is. But yeah, and Carrie Jones started the second game for Wales. Hayley Ladd started the both the games. Maria Thorisdottir played for Norway. I think she scored one as well. And Vilde Boris also started for Norway. So I think this sums it up about the international break. And hopefully, whosoever is making these international break scheduling, please stop disrupting the season, disrupting the games after every 3 matches, after every 4 matches. So, Connor, some last minute rant about international break. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it.
I mean, as you know, if you follow me from All For United, I hate international break. Not just in the women's, I can't stand it in the men's. And it sounds bad as an England fan, I should be, but I don't support the team in tournaments. I don't support the team. I couldn't care less about like national teams because I love United too much. The thought of cheering on rival players just doesn't sit right with me. So yeah, I'm happy for the United girls. Obviously, like you just mentioned there, all of them had a good international break. I'll start off with Carrie Jones. I think that what it speaks volumes the fact she's getting selected to start at her age, 18 years old. The fact that she is starting games says a lot about her, and it says a lot about her attitude as well, and the belief that the manager's got in her. We all rave about her as United fans, but it's good to see that the wider footballing world are seeing that as well now. Obviously, England. It puts a bit of a downer on it because you look at the opposition. I think and would half of those goals have gone in against let's say a Spain or a Netherlands or somebody like that? Maybe not. But you've got to be in the positions to score them, and Russo was in the positions to get a hat trick. I think it was 11 minutes. I think it was. So yeah, credit to her. I think it was 4 match balls given out with the 4 different hat tricks. Yeah, so I think that it's good for players like I mentioned earlier that don't necessarily get game time at United. Like Bo Reese is an example. She's not had too much game time, but she is consistently playing for Norway. So that means it's good for her to keep that kind of match fitness and her levels up. The one thing I would just like to see is us, if we're going to have these international breaks. Now, I get why they have to do it because there's not as many games in women's football. But the one thing I'd like to see is tougher opposition for some of these players, because it's all very well and good scoring these hat tricks and battering teams, but these players aren't going to learn that much against these sides. So when they come back, and let's say, I'm actually glad we've got Leicester, not Brighton first after internationals. Let's say Russo and Toone, the England girls, for example, if they come back after beating Latvia, it's really like, okay, it's almost like relaxing a little bit. And then if say we had Brighton this weekend, it's like, oh God, this is a completely different pace now. So I wish we were playing tougher opposition, because at least then it challenges them. I obviously don't want injuries. I'd rather none of our players played at all, if I'm totally honest. But no, it's good for those, squad fringe players, like I said, like Bo Risa, who should be starting now. I think she's shown what she can do with Norway. And yeah, it is good. Like I said at the start, I'm not an England fan. I don't support national sides, but it is good to see United players doing well, because it just shows they're keeping their fitness up, keeping their form up, secondly, and showing to the rest, whether this is a good or bad thing, showing to the rest of the footballing world what they can do. And the reason why I say that might not be a good thing is because then you get clubs sniffing around, and you get, if they're doing it on the national stage as well, you get some of these clubs around Europe sniffing around as well, so they can stay away. But yeah, no,
I
it's
I think I got what you're trying to say. But
yeah, no,
Connor, you raised a very good point that these teams, like the big teams, England, Netherlands, they need to face tougher opposition. Because, I'll be honest, it's not fair on teams like Latvia because the investment from their country's board or from UEFA side isn't as much as the FA or the Netherlands Football Association provide to them. So I think UEFA something needs to change. Some tournaments need to change so that the lower placed team play the teams that are on their level, and after that they face top teams. uh, and I think some this qualifying tournament or whatever they've been having, the structure needs to change a bit because it's not fair on teams like Latvia, Faroe Islands, or San Marino.
yeah, definitely. And it's like I said, they're not gonna. You always want to face tougher opposition, and that's not possible for everyone because if I get what you saying, you can't always play tougher opposition because there would be no one to play. Um, but for like teams like Latvia, for example, I use that as the example. What are they going to learn in that game against England? Because they're not going to. I literally don't remember them touching the ball. It's just a training exercise. Then it's just defense versus attack. And same for England. What are they actually learning? Because they're not learning too much. Because I said you can't translate that into WSL then because you come back into the league and it's faster paced and high quality, and those shots are not going to be going in, and you're not going to have that much time on the ball. And maybe that's why we look so slow after internationals because our players are not necessarily playing at that high level,
I
whereas you
think
wouldn't.
the
So
tempo of the game for international football and club football has like it's sky. It's the tempo for the club football is here and the international football is down there. So I think I do agree with how you're saying that these players need to face tougher opposition so that they can develop even more, so that they can learn from those situations. Like if even if for example England is losing, uh, how will Elatun and Alessia Russo step up like the way they step up for club football? So I would like to see that at an international level as well. I'm not doubting the players. I'm just putting out, an example. I'm not saying that, okay, Elatun and Alessia Russo don't know how to step up. I'm not saying that. So I'll just be clear because there are a lot of fans who might come into the comments. So I'll just make it clear.
yeah, and we could have a whole show on this, so I'll keep it very brief. But this is where the wider issue, the funding, needs to come into it because it's not. There's only a select few of top teams, so you can't play the top teams all the time, especially in the qualifying stage. So I get it. But especially over breaks and things like that, I know we do have behind closed door friendlies, at the club. But yeah, I'd like to see us just let's go and play. The players that let's say don't go away with international, come up against, go and play like Chelsea in a friendly behind closed doors, or go and play. Don't play Birmingham and and teams near the bottom and Leicester and so on. Let's go and test ourselves against the best teams, and try and keep the fit. Which is why I think everyone raised an eyebrow yesterday, especially with England, when it's like, why is she playing a full strength team at home to Latvia when we're already pretty much through anyway? Um, and leaving kind of subs so late for like Zellum could have started that game. There was no reason why she couldn't, but that's another story. But yeah, it just lines up nicely. Like I said, that we've got an easier. We weren't going to get an easier opposition this weekend, home to Leicester. So I'm glad that we've got those as like a stepping stone. It's not high paced tempo, but it is going to be quicker than international. Play Leicester, and then that is going to be the stepping stone for Brighton, then, which is good.
Yeah. So Connor, last thing, what are your predictions for this game? Like the score line that you'd like to predict?
Oh, crikey, I hate scoreline predictions. So
Okay, so
all,
let's do one thing. You hate it, I hate it. So let's just scrap it all together because I don't want to jinx it, and I hope that you'd like also not to jinx it.
no, obviously, I'm not going to say a scoreline, but I will say United will probably win. We should
Yeah,
do. Um,
you can
but
predict the goal scorers. Let's do something different. Predict the goal.
yeah,
Who'll score the first goal?
okay. I'm going to stick by what I said earlier. I think Carrie Jones will score. Whether that be first, I don't know. I'll stick by first, but yeah, I think she's going to score at some point. Just because I'd expect it to start. Um, I know she's been away with Wales, but it's not the same. When I was talking about Ivana earlier, I'm talking more about the travel time back to England and these
Yeah.
kinds of. Um, so yeah, I'm going to say Carrie actually, but I'm torn between Carrie or one of the midfielders. Maybe Borisa gets a goal or somebody like that. Maybe not too sure. I'm gonna
I'd
stick with
like
Carrie.
to see Carey score a goal. I'd like to see Manny and Wilde Borisa score their first goal, Blundell as well. But I think Carey Jones might get that first goal. So I'll agree to you with this. But yeah, thanks for joining in, Connor. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I mean, I've enjoyed this conversation a lot. And guys, please do subscribe to All For United and All For United WFC. Connor's been on both the channels. You can see him on the women's channel on Friday nights and other nights as well. Whenever he's one of the panelists, and on the men's channel as well. Often he's the one who's doing the review of the game. And so I know that sometimes when United lose, his he's just thinking, what am I going to say in the review?
Crikey, yes. The reviews when we've lost are the hardest, especially on the men's. I can tell you that because there's been a lot of losses recently. So yeah, it's been a tough watch in recent years. But Ralph's at the wheel now, so we're gonna take over the world.
Yeah, sky's the limit. So thank you so much, Connor, for joining in. Guys, I'm just telling you once again, subscribe to All For United and All For United WFC. Follow their social media handles. I'll add the link in the description. And while you're at it, do follow Connor on Twitter as well. I'll add that link also in the description. Subscribe to our channel. Press on that bell icon to not miss any updates. Anything, Connor, you'd like to say before we leave?
No, definitely no. Just make sure you're liking and subscribing on this channel. Like I said, I've enjoyed my first appearance over here. I've been aware of it for a while, and yeah, hopefully, like I always say this on every channel I go on as well. If you disagree or agree with anything I've said, just get in the comments. You know, I always go back and watch videos, a couple of days later and read the comments and these kinds of things. So if you honestly, if you disagree with anything I've said, by all means, put it in as long as it's respectful and things like that. I've got no problem with being proved wrong or having a debate in the comments after. I want that, So yeah, if you disagree or agree, just after you've dropped a like on the video, then drop it in the comments.
Yeah, I paid Connor to say that, but yeah, he said that. But yeah, I think he said it perfectly that, be kind, be respectful, and we'll have a healthy discussion, even if it's one to one or in the comment section. So thank you so much, Connor, for joining in. We are the United Star. Do subscribe to our channel. Press on that bell icon to not miss any updates. Follow us on our Instagram and Twitter handles, and we'll see you next time. Keep supporting women's football. Keep supporting Manchester United. Glory, glory, Man United.